theory, I should be live. Though I never know when it comes to this thing. What's going on, guys? Hope every one of you is doing absolutely, positively, fantastically well. Today we'll be talking about whatever we want to be talking about. I'm going to be trying to do these more and more. And, of course, getting the word out and all of that stuff. Give me one quick second while I do that. Hey, guys, let's have a chat! Exclamation point. Tweet. There we go. Done. I've done my job for the day. Have you done yours? So, anyway, I'm Joe Obama and I forget everything, but that is discrimination. But apparently, and I didn't finish that. Apparently, good friend, if you believe in Star Wars, dick means anything except for the right. Because you can hate the right. What's going on, Noah? I hope you're doing well today. I declined to state a political party when I registered to vote. I guess that means I'm not welcome here, says Jade Dixon. I guess so. Guess that's what that means, especially if you think that I am saying 100% that Star Trek is for the left only. If you look at that title and you think that's what I'm saying and you think that's my stance, then I guess you gotta leave. I guess that's what it is. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but hey, people be people. So for those of you who don't know, I have my own Twitter, twitter.com/lore reloaded, which are my own opinions, not reflective of Storyboard Studios LLC or Reloaded Studios LLC, where I talk about wherever I want to and whatever I want to. And got into a little bit of a tiff with some left-winging bigots, as is my custom. Though I piss off the right-wing bigots just as much, so don't feel like I am only one person, only looking at one side. But it was an interesting conversation. Ironically, I think there was a dude, I think that guy was a long-standing follower on Twitter. And he, I think... And so he ended up blocking me. There's another guy, he's new to Twitter, apparently. And so the statement was, it is impossible to be friends and reach out to Trump supporters, and Trump supporters can't like Trek. Or he doesn't understand why Trump supporters don't like Trek. Which, again, goes against IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite... Oh, hell, I forgot what it is. Infinite combinations. Of course, I'm told that when I counter that, it's not exactly what they mean. Infinite doesn't mean infinite. It means finite, and only within a left perspective, I've been told. Here's what's interesting to me, and here's why I get so frustrated. Let's assume... Just let's assume for the sake of argument, and I don't want actual politics. I want to discuss at a meta level. I don't want to discuss the politics themselves. Let's assume, and I'm just going to ask you guys this. Let's assume everything Trump related on the right is horrific. Let's just say that it is, okay? Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that anyone who supports Trump or supports the right knowingly supports homophobia, transphobia, slavery, whatever. Let's take that as fact. If you are a Star Trek fan, you cannot say that reaching out to those kinds of supporters is something you're not supposed to do, and that they can't like Star Trek, and that you should wall off and have an echo chamber. You cannot say that. That goes against the antithesis of what Trek is. In the original series, Kirk would reach out to those who were bad or evil in an attempt to talk them down or convince them to not do what they are doing. In TNG, Geordi LaForge had a friend in a Romulan soldier who said that somebody like Geordi would be killed because he couldn't see, because he was blind. The fascist Romulan government killed babies that would not. Listen. You had Picard reaching out to the Ferengi, the one of the most evil, women-hating species that ever existed. Sisko tried to bond with a Jem'Hadar, a religious zealot that wanted to kill him and everyone for gods. Michael reached out to the literal by the writer standards, Trump equivalents, and tried to make peace. They were meant to be Trump supporters, and they tried to make peace with them. So even if we assumed everyone on the right, everyone who is a Trump supporter, is the most evil people on planet Earth. They are literally Satan if Satan was having a bad day. If you are a fan of Star Trek, not reaching out and trying to change their minds is the antithesis of everything Trek stands for. And between you and them, if they're reaching out to you, they're more following Trek's ideals than you are. Now, we know that's not the case. Not everyone, right? In anything. But it's always frustrating to me how the left, especially on Twitter it's bad, left Twitter Trek fandom does not understand the entire point of Trek. It boggles my mind. Talk to you later, Eric. Thanks for coming by. The right can like Trek all they want, but Roddenberry's vision of the future. I guess you're going to have to finish that, Nate, because that doesn't make any sense. Does the Romulan Geordi before say that the Romulan government killed blind babies, or was it just in the Romulan society it was expected? It's my understanding, and I could get this wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's my understanding it is policy of the Romulan government to kill invalids, anyone who's blind or anyone who can't help out the status quo. It is my understanding. So, Vile Mike, is it against Trek ideals to be anti-fascist? I don't think so. In fact, I would say, and see, here's where I really get frustrated, because I think Trek is all about ideas. In fact, you see it in the first episode of DS9 when Sisko is talking to the prophets. He says, I'm not here to change you with weapons or ideas. I'm here to ask questions and learn what questions to ask, to learn new questions. I'm here to learn from you and for you to learn from me. Challenging ideas or saying something is wrong is different from saying you are wrong. Not you are wrong. You are bad. You can't change. You're the problem. There's a complete difference, and that's why I really try hard. I do get personal sometimes, but I really try hard to get pissed off and fight ideas and not people, because I think people can change, not ideals. Aren't you generalizing what you're trying to prove? Generalizations are cyclical and too broad to come to a point. I'm not sure what you mean, Starfleet boy. I'm gonna go back up and look at this. Sorry I missed it, Andrew. Thanks for supporting the channel, by the way. I'm not saying the entirety of the left. I'm saying the left does it as much as the right. Well, the left actually does it more than the right. But of course, not all, Starfleet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the modern leftist ideal of enforced equality, forcibly converting anyone to your worldview and destroying what you can't convert, is exemplified by the Borg Collective. See, I would disagree that, leftist. I think there's a difference between a leftist and a liberal. I think there's a difference between a leftist and someone who is even far left. I don't know what you mean by forced equality, but forcibly converting anyone to your worldview by YouTube leftist definitions would be, and doing it for your own good would be exemplary of the Borg Collective. Though I think you and I mean something different when we say leftist, Andrew Firth. When I think leftist, I think like a YouTuber Vosh or the communist Trekkie. Or, I don't even know that I'd say Renegade Cut is leftist, though he may be. But Steve Shives wouldn't be leftist, for instance. I don't think Steve Shives would be leftist. And I don't think it's as brutal as you put it out there, in my opinion. What did Disnick say? The problem with so-called anti-fascists is the fact that everyone who isn't exactly like them is automatically a fascist. And the anti-fascists use fascist tactics. Yeah, that's getting a little more deeper than I really necessarily want to go. I want to keep it on Star Trek. I don't think all people are like that. And I truly believe, the interesting thing about social media is I believe that the more exaggerated or more, what's the word I'm looking for? Hyperbolic sides are exemplified, or can be heard more than what the general populace is. So I don't think that most Antifa people are like that. I don't think most Trump supporters, I don't think they're like the most evil people on the face of the planet. I think we see that on YouTube and Twitter because it's YouTube and Twitter. Liberation is so Bajoran, tip lore. Liberation. I don't know what that means. Are we discussing political, left, right, or social interpretation of what we think a leftist and a right-winger is? Well, I'm trying to stay away from that, Frederick Bin, if that even is your real name, good sir. But we're more discussing how intolerant everyone is. And, here's the interesting thing. It's not just people on the left side. It's not just people who are left leaning. Right does it all the time. It's a human problem more than anything else. It boggles my mind that you can claim sole ownership while being a psychotic myrmidon for the left. I have no idea what that means. What is a psychotic myrmidon? I want to look that up. I find that intriguing. A psychotic myrmidon. That's a new one for me. And it's for the left, no doubt. I don't know if you're talking to me. What's a myrmidon? Well, we'll just do myrmidon. A follower or subordinate of a powerful person, typically one who's unscrupulous or carries out orders unquestioningly. Well, if there's one thing I'm known for, it is following orders unquestioningly. I never question anything. In the original series, the Federation was the US or NATO, the Klingons were the Soviet Union, and the Romulans were China. Okay. Fair enough. Politics should be left out of Star Trek. I'm a fan, not because of the politics. Could care less about politics. I'm a fan because I enjoy Star Trek. Personally, I think Star Trek directly addresses politics. I do think that it's pretty big on that, especially social interactions and things. So for me, discussing it within the worldview of Trek, I don't mind. Trying to bring it into the real world, I don't necessarily like. I'm with you there. Just looking at, let's say, for instance, Discovery, Season 1. They said that they tried to make the Klingons Trump supporters. I don't give a damn about that. I don't really care. I don't want to bring that into it. That's just divisive. That's toxic. That's the dumbest, stupidest thing you could ever do. Really, during that time. But let's talk about the Klingons. and let's talk about what they are and what they believe, and if we can get meaning from that, or see where we're wrong, or see it in society and see if society needs to change, I'm okay with that conversation. Logically, the American government is not fascist. If that was the case, we'd probably not be having this conversation. Depends on if they agree with me or not, I'd say. Could you address some of the more toxic posts that are coming up? Robert Barrows, are you specifically talking about the ones that are making me respond to this, or is there one specific? Is there one you'd like to link me? Because I'll take a look and I'll address them. You'll probably have to send it to james@lorereloaded.com if it's not one specific to me. I got into an argument with 3 different people, I think, on Twitter, because I said it's okay to talk to Trump supporters. You might actually change their mind in the issues that they're wrong, and it's possible to be a Trump supporter or conservative and like Trek, because IDIC exists. And then when they couldn't counter me, they just blocked me. Oh, and attacked my channel first, of course, because, if you can't win an argument with me, obviously that means my channel is dying, and I'm doing it all for the clicks. Couldn't an argument be made the Prime Directive is more Republican and the Federation inclusivity Democrat? What would make the Prime Directive? I don't like Republican. Would you say conservative? Because I think Republican and conservative are 2 different things, or can be. Non-intervention does seem like a conservative ideal. I don't know. I'd be interested in. What do you guys think? Trek values are compatible with conservatism. Cons are mostly anti-fascist by nature. Post-scarcity economics of Trek is a conservative dream. I don't know. I agree with that last part, Forza Jersey. Thanks for supporting the channel. I don't know that a post-scarcity economics of Trek is I think it's a dream, and that everyone would enjoy that, but I don't know. I don't know that that's a conservative. Oh my God! You said you're okay. You said it was okay to talk to Trump supporters. You monster! Yeah, I know, right? Willower says Star Trek shows a progressive view of the future. Come on, what does that have to do with anything, Willower, my good friend? What does that have to do with anything? For real, the bad guys in the Voyager episode counterpoint the Devore. What is the correct way to deal with a group like that? I don't know. Let's look at it. Voyager, the Devore. You'll forgive me if I don't instantly remember everything. People expect me to. So, for those who don't know, the Devore were a spacefaring humanoid species native to their homeworld. The Devore was governed by the Imperium, who represented a militaristic and highly xenophobic culture. All outsiders were labeled as Gahari and subject to meticulous inspections within the space. They didn't like telepaths. They didn't like psychics. So let's look at that for a second. Let's address that. I would say the way that you deal with this, there's a couple of ways, and Starfleet even does this. Hold on, X-Men time. We're going to get back to that for a second. Victor Surge, I'm not sure if you're talking to me. Kind of hope you are, versus someone else. I don't want you fighting with other people. In fact, you're potentially the dumbest chimp I've spoken to all day. I'm okay with that. I'll be able to sleep. I'll sleep with a good sir. I'll sleep with a warm cup of milk to that. Anyway, so the Devore, bigots, the Imperium. There's only a couple of ways that you're going to be able to address that. And we see how the Federation works with it as we see them interact with the Klingons, who were, in fact, bigots. They didn't like anyone that wasn't Klingon. They enslaved people. They did the same thing with the Federation did the same thing with the Romulans and the Ferengi. You try to interact, and the Dominion. You try to interact with them, and through culture and changing of ideas, you show them where they're wrong. We actually saw this happen with the Klingons. The Klingons went from a slave-faring, psychotic race of killers to a strong ally who no longer enslaves people and, in fact, ultimately joins the Federation. Same thing happens with the Romulans. They stop being fascist. They actually join with the Vulcans and become a part of the Navarre. So the Devore, again, the Devore were governed by the Imperium. They were xenophobic culture. They were the ones that didn't like psychics. They tried to get rid of all psychics, right? They hated them. They wanted to send them off to camps. So you interact via the culture, just like we did. Now, of course, there is also the option of war, but are you going to go to war with everyone you disagree with? We did also see it with the Cardassians. When the Cardassians were getting the hell beat out of them, the absolute hell beat out of them by the Klingons, the Federation was there to help them, and I dare say, well, I would say that if the Federation had done more, we would have saw a change in them. And honestly, I would say through Damar and through Garrick, we see changes. Because what does Garrick say the Federation is? Huh? What does Garrick and Quark? What do Garrick and Quark call the Federation? And what happens? You guys remember that scene? Think about it. I gotta go, but I wish I could hear the rest of your stream. Talk to you later, Starfleet boy. Who wants to win an internet point? If you can tell me in the chat what Quark and Garrick call the Federation, you'll get 1 internet point. It's root beer. That's right. Root beer's insidious. It's fuzzy. You get used to it. You start to need it. It's insidious. It changes you. That's what the Federation does. It changes you through its culture. And that is the message of Trek. That you can change people by simply being the best that you can be. That you can talk to them, that through ideas. This guy reads slow. I do, mental philanthropist, but if you would like to start your own channel and have over 120 people on it, and it going to having people comment every 1 to 2 seconds and can keep up better, I'll be happy to give you a shout out, my good lad. So if you could go ahead and do that and then link it, I will be happy to give you a shout out so people can go there and you can respond to them a lot faster. Because you are obviously the ultimate reader, which is all that's important. That's the only reason people are here. By the way, 120 people watching, only 34 likes. Hit that like button. It's more scared of you than you are of it. So how did the Emerald Chain become so legitimized? I don't think they, they became legitimized because people needed them, because the Federation failed everyone. Everyone relied on the Federation and it was just gone. And so, of course, they picked up the slack. The Dominion, however, does show the opposite can work. You can create order through extreme power and authority through a fascist government. I would say yes, Winell, but I would also counter that that's not sustainable. I don't think that the Dominion may be sustained. I don't know. I don't think that type of power structure, even in Trek, is sustainable for long, because people would, long being relative, is sustainable at the end, because people will always try to resist fascism, resist oppression, even if you give them like heaven, you give them everything they could want, because the Dominion wasn't against that. The Dominion would have given you what you wanted. I mean, they could have made your life a lot easier. You just had to jump when they said jump. And people will always resist that. And I think that because of that, ultimately, it's not a sustainable system. The Dominion lasted for over 1,000 years, depending on which Weyoun you want to listen to. They've existed for over 10,000 years, something like that. Star Trek seemed to me like a socialist group. No money, free medical, free food, free living, little work. I wouldn't say little work. I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely honest with you. I can't appropriately peg what Starfleet is because I don't think we have enough information. it seems to me like maybe if someone wants their message read, they could be cool and support this awesome channel. Much love. Well, thank you, Lil Disney. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. What was I saying? Oh, communism has, and socialism to a degree, have so many different and varying definitions, like what it is, that it's really hard to place if Starfleet is or not, especially since they go in and out of using money. I tend to believe personally that Starfleet is like either socialism or communism, and it works because it's science fiction. I've yet to be convinced that socialism or communism can work in real life. But when it comes to what it is there, when it comes to what it is in the series, TNG through Voyager, I think they're meant to be communistic. I think. I don't know, honestly. Harold, they get their information from... Oh, we're talking about things like that. I don't think the Devore were unjustified in their fear of telepaths. Telepaths have an advantage. Banning them is overkill, but I see where they're coming. Yeah, and that's really an interesting piece. I don't want to get too far into it. I would say this. Generally, really evil ideas, evil that prospers, starts with a kernel of truth. It seems to me like, and it doesn't matter whether it's the right or the left. And by the way, people are saying, yeah, I'm talking about the left because it's in the title, and I just got done fighting some silly people that have no idea what Trek is, and they're on the left, but the right does it too. But whether you're the right or left, the toxic ideas generally have a kernel of truth that then go to an unreasonable degree. Just like the Devore. The Devore, it is possible to be taken advantage of by people who are telepathic. It is possible to be hurt by people who are telepathic. That doesn't mean that we throw all of them in camps or try to kill them, right? And that's the thing about ideologies and prosperous ideas. I truly believe, like for instance, I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't think Trump is in any way good. I don't want to get into the debate about it, but for me, not just for me. I think that Trump's a bad idea. However, one of the reasons I think Trump prospers is because some of his ideas have a small kernel of truth to them. And so they then build on that unreasonably. But the left, the toxic left, is the same idea. Anita Sarkeesian, that's someone I'm more than happy to actually look at her, like, talk about. I can't stand her. I think she is one of the most dishonest people on the internet. But I think that there is a kernel of truth that historically gamers have been somewhat sexist. I think you can show that, at least in the past. And there's obvious objectification on both sides. But she takes it to an unreasonable degree and treats things as if they haven't changed when they have. Now, to what extent is a discussion, I think. Yeah, let's not be hostile, guys. If we see that, or people get upset, or it seems like we're angry, we're just going to start putting people in timeouts. Even if you're a fan of the channel, we're going to start putting people in timeouts. Can the arguing? Yeah, let's not argue. I disagree with your opinion on Trump, but I love your content all the same. Keep doing good. Well, thanks, Ace. See, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. We can all agree or disagree on stuff. I think that's a part of diversity or IDIC. I think it doesn't matter what anyone believes in this channel. If you say you're a Star Trek fan, then you're a Star Trek fan. Now, it is quite possible that it is quite possible that your ideas don't jive with what Trek is going for, but that can be a discussion. What's going on, Bono Cap? Winell helping out the channel. Federation also has extreme views, such as prejudice against genetic engineered individuals. I think you can see that even in utopian society, there's an underclass as far as back as DS9 and Ken. I would agree with that. I would also say that even if it's not directly said, there's a wrong think mentality there, I think. Agent K, lots of bitterness here. No longer a fan of sub. I'm confused. Are you unsubbing me because of what Agent K did? I mean, I'm okay with that. If Agent K did something to make you unsub, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I don't understand it, but it's it's whatever, I suppose. So again, I'm gonna start looking more focusing, and let's try not to fight as much. Again, they are let's keep it meta. Then why are you getting so bitter, lore related? Where am I bitter? Put out Sapien. Can you please tell me specifically where I'm bitter? I'm actually pretty relaxed. My cats are fighting each other. I think the Dominion would kill the Borg. They like to use ambush and descriptive tactics. Well, just for those who don't know, I'm doing a Dominion Borg War Theory series project. A lot of stuff. Thanks for supporting the channel, June. A lot of stuff is coming out on that. It's going to actually be most of 2021. There's going to be short films, like live action short films, and animations and voiceovers. Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. I'm not bitter about anything. I'm just having a conversation. If there's any bitterness, and I don't think it's bitterness, it's more a little bit of frustration. I just hate that people miss the forest for the trees. I think that I think you miss the point of Trek if you aren't willing to have conversations. I don't think you should have conversations if it's going to hurt you or it's toxic for you or whatever. But if you think that people can't like Trek because they believe X, or that you should completely cut them off, I think you missed the point, and that's frustrating. Am I bitter? No. I don't even remember the names of the people that I was fighting with on Twitter. Now it's just talking about the idea. You can see Ducat was delusional and had a god complex. I would agree with that. I didn't like the burn. I've talked about that. The QAnon continuum. I hate you so much. I don't know if you're being truthful, but oh my God. Oh, dude. It doesn't matter if you like Trump or not. We're all Star Trek fans. Yeah, see, I'd agree with that. I don't think there's any true one-to-one for ideologies in the real world to ideologies in Trek. The closest Trek has is Romulans and Romans. I would disagree. I think if it's truly one-to-one, I don't know. I would think there are some that are close, though. Trek is good and politics sucks, end point. Politics is pretty divisive. I'll agree with that. I think the reason they think you're bitter in the name is the name of the stream, not related to your actual content. I think they say right need not apply line and got spooked. Yeah, so here's the one thing. I do titles and everything to inspire conversation. And honestly, if you're just going to read the title and not do any research and get mad at me about it, then the channel's not good for you anyway. I want people who are willing to have a conversation, or at least try to understand and be open to ideas. And so if you're just going to like knee jerk on a title, I'm not losing a lot of sleep over that. I'm just not. Problem with I always giggle when they refer to QAnon as Q because it's always some straight up Q antics. That's true. There is a quantum computer from IBM named Q. I kind of wonder if someone made the contact with people and messed with them. Maybe. We could talk about the Klingons. Which Klingons you want to talk about? You and Lore Runner have the right idea. Knee-jerking, it is a bad idea. I agree. Sean Lake helping out the channel. Is the relationship between the United Earth Federation and the Federation Starfleet the same as the relationship between the Colonial Army and the U.S. Army? It is not. They are definitively different, and it goes out of its way, both in Enterprise, TNG, and DS9, to point that out. I don't know if that was done on purpose. The reason why they named it the same is so that fans would come and watch it. The United Earth's Starfleet, there's not a United Earth Federation. The United Earth's Starfleet is in name alone attached to the United Federation of Planets Starfleet. Generally, they are handled in different ways, and they are substantially different in the things that they address. And so, and it even says in TNG, the Starfleet was created by the UFP Charter. In Enterprise, Starfleet was created by the United Earth, and I think is an offshoot of NASA or something like that. So they're related in names, and they kept some of the designs, but beyond that, they are not. TNG Klingons and how they're very conservative. Are TNG Klingons conservative? Are they? I don't respect QAnon either. I'll be straight up honest with you. Does labor in the UK Nordic model in Scandinavia just to start? What the hell are you guys talking about? Stop talking about that stuff. How they relate to Starfleet and get along in DS9 are needed to win with the Dominion. Their grit and fierce warrior helped. Sure. I think the Federation is a socialist utopia, and I hope one day we get there, but I don't think it would work in the modern day. The problem is that they don't have scarcity. They can literally make almost anything that they want. And so that makes it somewhat hard, right? Makes it pretty difficult. Everything I've read, and again, I don't want to get into a debate, so I hope we chill a little bit on that. Socialism and communism, as far as I understand, let's do communism, because I liked mixed economies personally. Communism works on paper, but not in practice from everything I could see. And so if there was a way to make it work, I wouldn't be against moving away from like a capitalist structure. I just don't see any way of making it work the way it is right now. Star Trek has always pushed the envelope progressively in the context of optimism. Things get better, people get through adversity. Trek is about hope. If that inspires you, you're a Trek fan. Well, I'd agree with that. Do you do the same sort of world building and culture building for your own independent works as Lore Runner does for his? I'm curious if you ever published something for an RPG. Haven't published anything for an RPG. I have written a couple of things. I do try to world build like that. I actually take a lot of inspiration from how Lore Runner does his stuff to build out my stuff. Can we not talk about politics here, please? There are other YouTube channels for that, question mark. I'll say this. I don't think we should get into the nitty-gritty or mad at each other. I do think that we should be able to talk about anything that Trek talks about or addresses. And so politics in the context of Trek, I think, is something. But it's not going to be every live stream. And so if it's not your thing and you want me to do less, I'll take that feedback, June. But when it relates, or we can have the conversation ever so often. I don't think it needs to go full bore or anything. It doesn't need to go, who was that one animator, Jello or whatever? Dude, everything is divisive. Tobin, everything is divisive. Literally everything. This culture is, how we stay as a society boggles my mind. What do you think about the different appearances of Colonel Green in Star Trek? The different appearances of Colonel Green. I would have to go back and watch The Savage Curtain. I'll be honest. I'm not... Ironically, the original series is one of my weaker points, and I would have to see. I can't. I don't know. I think you've handled this the best with both of these. You know what I want to see more of the Tholians. Who doesn't want to see more Tholians? I don't think Trek economics are clear. It looks like social democracy, but they are in the future. Everyone today lives like kings to Ben Franklin, so maybe we should just relax and enjoy Star Trek. Maybe. Thanks for supporting the channel. Only way I can keep the lights on. What's up, I am user? Laura, I'm trans. The political right has declared me to be ungodly and evil. There is no middle ground between whether I should exist or if I should be exterminated. Even in Star Trek. TB. Hashtag not all. Not all of the political right has said that, but let's assume that they have. For the sake of conversation, for the sake of argument, let's say every right-leaning person says that. The way, if you want to do this based on Trek. Now, if you don't want to interact with it or you think it's wrong from a personal standpoint and you don't want to include Trek in it, fair enough. But if we're going to do Trek, Geordi LaForge reached out to someone who thinks he should be dead, a Romulan. Picard reached out to the Ferengi, who are the most sexist people you do that you could ever know. Sisko reached out to religious zealots that wanted to kill everyone because he believed that their god should. Oh, hell. Michael reached out to literal Trump supporters, or the interpretations thereof, in Star Trek Discovery. So it goes against the core concepts of Trek to not reach out to people to try to change them. Again, TB, if you don't want to, or it hurts you, or it would put you in a toxic situation, definitively don't. But you can't say that it is Trek to not try to change people's minds. Why are we talking about Hitler? No one has talked about Hitler. AT&T reached out and touched someone. What is wrong? Matthew? Max? Sir? Max. You go too far in either direction, it becomes, I'd agree with that. If you go too far in either direction, it does become bad. I'm both extremely socially and economically permissive. I am one step from anarchist, and I believe we do need some government. Anarchist? I don't know. Let's stop talking about Hitler, if we could, please. Let's just cut that one off. McGrizz, I'm not going to touch you. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. All right, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and then we can talk about something more Trek-related, and then we'll all be on our merry. We will all be on our merry. Everything after Enterprise was a mistake. Most people say Enterprise itself was a mistake. Everything. It's, I want everybody relax when it comes to TB. TB, it's all right. That belief, while I disagree with it, I would agree that it's not that way. Hashtag not all. I can understand feeling that way. I really can. Did you see that one video with Hitler reacting to the USS Odyssey getting blown up? I did see that. That was hilarious. We need to stop talking about Hitler, but that was hilarious. If you weren't so wrapped up in making self-harm and... What the hell? Brian Kennedy, I don't know what that's relating to, but just stop. Especially if that's relating to what I think that's relating to. Anarchism's major issue is as soon as you achieve your goal, where do you go from there? So here's a question for you. Okay, well, let's get political just for a second. For those who are anarchists, no one put anarchy down. One of my biggest fears about anarchy is that if you become anarchists and we don't have a government and we don't have a military to defend us, what happens when Russia wants to come and take us over? A sincere question. It took a while to get its... rewatching Enterprise up until the Hitler episode, the Nazi episode, it wasn't so bad. I didn't like it. I liked most of it. And then season 4 was just excellent. Colonel Green made a hard choice, not a humanitarian choice. Sometimes we all make mistakes, but Trek canon tends towards rehabilitation. Preach, Dark Orion. Preach. Alien Nazis, what's not to like? Oh my god, that was so bad. I hated it. The Borg assimilate the cells and organs. However, the changelings with no actual organs, the nanos wouldn't. Well, June, that's not so. June, they were able to be infected by a virus. And if a virus can infect them, why couldn't they be assimilated? I think changelings can be assimilated. I really do. Talking about Hitler and Nazis in chat hurts channels algorithm. It does. It does. You're not wrong about that. And slurs, certain slurs. In fact, interestingly enough, you'll get banned if you try it. If you use like N slurs or like F slurs in the chat, they'll actually come after my channel. I can get a strike for something you do. Now I'm gonna ban you for that just because I don't want that in my chat. That's not what the channel's about at all. It's an easy ban. I mean, permanent easy ban. Oh my god. But they could also come after the channel. You're not wrong. Algorithmically talking about Nazis, Hitler, things like that. Yeah, it'll hurt. I've never really heard your opinion on how they handled Adira. How do you think they handled doing non-binary representation? I liked it. I liked the way Adira was handled. I think that they did what I think you need to do in media, which is normalize it. You can bring it up. You can have issues around it, but show it as the way that it should be. It should be a normal part of society. And so the way they handled Adira, I actually really liked. I think it was handled pretty well, personally. Russia invades, finding nukes on every pickup is what happens with that. Which Nazi episodes do you like best? I don't like any of the Nazi episodes. I don't like any of them. I don't. Orion, my stuff loves you. Everyone behave. We don't need to cause them any problems. But the virus was specifically designed to harm the changelings, going back to the Borg. The Borg nanobots may not have that power, but they might be designed to assimilate them. Yeah, I mean, if they couldn't assimilate them on the first pass, they'd just keep trying. They'd figure it out. Yeah, F slur meaning the homophobic slur. Not a curse word. I think fuck, which by the way you really don't. YouTube doesn't like, but it's not that bad. Is a curse word. F slur is an actual slur. I think those two are different. Do the Klingons ever join the Federation in Alpha or Beta canon? Also, do you think the Federation should have gave military aid to the Maquis? The Klingons do join the Federation in the 31st century, was it? By the 31st century? We know that through Enterprise. Maybe it's the 28th century that they joined. Beyond that, I do think that Starfleet should have helped the Maquis. Or they either needed to help the Maquis or recognize the Maquis as their own. They should not have done this half-measure BS. This is all slurred up, brah. What happens is that the invading country takes over because the resistance is divided over a large area. And seizing resources is considerable. Thank you, buddy. You do wonderful work. Trekkies for life. Word. Patterns of Force is a guilty pleasure episode of mine. It's oddly empowering. I mean, if you get something for it and you enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with that. With a few exceptions, if I don't like an episode or a series and you like it and you get something about it, then, man, more power to you. God bless you. How would you feel about a 3D animated show about the Bajoran Resistance? It'd be like Star Wars. I think if you're going to do that, you need to do it Ironically, though, you're doing resistance. I think it needs to be towards kids. I don't know, maybe. Doesn't the half measure resemble border disputes around the world? Well, maybe, and that always goes well. So you don't want politics. It's in your title. Please explain that methodology, says put out. I don't want politics. I've discussed this a little bit. Politics at a high level or discussing it related to Trek is fine. Discussing if Trump supporters are Nazis or if leftists are Hitler is not a part of that. Something about my channel is that you'll find is that I am heavily nuanced, my good friend. Remember when the Maquis wanted to fight over land like those people Data had to shoot at to get them to leave? Are these not the same? Remember when the Maquis wanted to fight over the land? Are what not the same? If you're talking about the Maquis, yeah, they want their land. I mean, Starfleet screwed them. Starfleet gave their homes so that they didn't have to fight. They didn't have to inconvenience themselves. Starfleet screwed the Maquis 6 ways from Sunday and didn't even take them out for dinner after. So them being pissed off about it makes sense. Trek canon. Okay, it's a real reason right-wing is evil in Trek. It's counter-society. Right-wing isn't always evil in Trek, though it is the majority. Stay. Hold on, guys. For those who don't know, my dog got hit, and he can't go up or downstairs. And so he can hang with me, but sometimes he tries to make a run for it. Relax, buddy. Just chill. TB, IDIC. No. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. There is a combination where the marketplace of ideas does not require an honest and equal exchange of those ideas. Infinite, just so we can look it up, infinite, limitless or endless in space, extent, or size, impossible to measure or calculate. A space or quantity that is infinite. IDIC literally includes everything. That aside, there is a very small amount of people that believe that. Additionally, it goes against everything Trek stands for to not talk to people who are bigoted, who want your destruction, who are just bad people in order to change their minds. Now, just because Trek says that you need to talk to them doesn't mean you need to talk to them, okay? Trek's not a Bible. It's not law. It's not a religion. This is just what Trek says. Do not blaspheme, IDIC. It wasn't meant to include a political ideology. Well, forgive me for thinking that infinite meant infinite. My bad. As long as you are not extreme, then I think it's absolutely fine to be Star Trek or Utopian sci-fi fan and represent what they say. Sure. Star Trek was always lefty. Even if we assume that, Olivia, I'm not saying you're wrong, actually, but even if we assume that, doesn't mean that someone who's right-wing can enjoy it. In TNG, they found a Dyson sphere. Why didn't the Federation reverse engineer it? Because they didn't have to, I think? Because they had all the technology? I don't know. Infinite in pursuit of mental diversity. There's more bitterness, lore. Talk to you later, put out Sapien. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. So I agree. It's probably best that you just leave. Because I'm not bitter in the slightest, brother. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying it. I'm talking with 125 of my best friends. 125 of my, well, if you leave, 124 of my best friends. If the Vulcans never met humanity, do you think Starfleet would be warlike like the Klingons? I think that if the Vulcans never met humanity, then there's a good chance that the Romulans or the Klingons would have got there first. Klingons would have enslaved them. Romulans would have probably turned them against people. What's going on, multi-gun men? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Trek Kenny, he's been calling me bitter all night. I think he's just baiting me. What was I talking about beforehand? Oh, would they become warlike? I think they would have been a lot more aggressive. I don't know that they would have went straight up Terran Empire, but probably more aggressive, I think. About to be 100. You can't leave Jim Classic. If Jim Classic leaves, then this whole thing was for naught. This whole thing was for naught. Did the Federation created the Maquis to prep for the coming Dominion War? That would have, well, I mean, they got all of them killed, I guess. The glasses guy is interesting and makes me want to watch the new show. The guy with glasses, in Discovery, I like him. He's one of my favorite characters. But I'll be honest with you, I think he's a favorite because we don't know a lot about him. The more we learned about him, the less we'd like, I think. If only the U.S. would apologize to Her Majesty for tipping tea into the harbor, then we could put this all behind us. All this political division. It's true. Gotta go. Been nice picking your brain with questions. Talk to you later, Matthew. Thanks for coming by, buddy. Let's not feed the trolls. Better to watch them frustrate them. So, June, it's hard for me not to feed them a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I enjoy... So, and I stole this from somebody, but I got to be honest with you. The episode with let me see, what's the episode? In Peak Performance. Oh, first off, let me answer this. Donovan, which is kind of weird, Donovan. Basically, I need to find another fandom because I'm not an S-bag commie. Fine, I'll take my money and myself to a fandom that will welcome both. Okay. That's weird coming from you, Donovan, but, okay. Talk to you later, I guess. In Peak Performance, the way Data defeats that one guy who thinks he's all that and everything... he just matches him. He doesn't try to beat him. He just matches him on his own turf. I like doing that with trolls because it's funny, because they self-destruct. That's weird coming... Donovan, I think Donovan's a regular. It's odd coming from yourself, but okay. Be curious where you got that from. What reason could you give for Starfleet not punishing Sisko for what he did? You know, the only... First off, that's just play to stalemate, yeah. And it's fun to play to stalemate with people who think they're superior than you, or with trolls. Play to a stalemate and they'll self-destruct. It's wonderful. It's because of plot, Starfleet didn't punish him, but if I had to try to give it a reason why, if I had to try to justify it, I would say it was due to, in Star Trek, it really feels like a lot of the currency, especially in TNG Season 3 all the way to Voyager, is social climbing, is doing great things, gaining rank, becoming just a well-known entity. It's social points. And if I had to justify it, I would say that Sisko had enough leverage and social points. He probably burned all of his political and social goodwill. But I would say that's how he got away with it. So the Guardian of Forever, or Carl, gets used during the Temporal War. Why'd it have gotten involved in such an affair, knowing how it would turn out? If you remember, in the original series of the Guardian of Forever, he was okay with McCoy running through and changing all of history, and being okay with the Federation not existing. And then he said, "What other adventures will you do at the very end?" So I think because he's okay with that, because he couldn't foresee how evil people got, that initially he just didn't have a problem with it, and then he was like, "Oh wow, this is not good. I'm gone." Why do you think Voyager didn't use a cloaking device? They didn't have one. So he bribed the judge. Yeah, I mean, if I had to. Dude, sorry, the day I have had, I read it wrong. I'm just tired. Plus, I've argued that the Fed is more libertarian than communist, but it falls on deaf ears. I'm sorry you had a bad day, Donovan. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, because I know, Donovan, you've been around for a while. In fact, you come by so much that we're going to do this, good buddy. I'm sorry you're having a bad day, man. Actually, I got into a fight with people who were on the left who said that there's no way right-wing people could ever like Trek, and you shouldn't reach out to them. That's the whole point of it. But no big deal. That's why it confused me. That's why I said, okay, I mean, if you want to go, I guess. Had I not recognized you as a regular, I probably would have responded in a much less nice way. So that's why I was confused, because usually, yeah, you're pretty chill. You want to talk about it? It'll just be you and me, Donovan. You and me can just have a conversation. Don't worry, no one else is watching. Tell me what's going on, buddy. I'll even, if you want, we can get comfortable, take off our shirts. Just get weird, man. Let's just get weird. I wonder what non-hologram programmable matter technology could be used for kinky stuff. Oh man, all kinds of fun stuff. See now, why can't Picard not have his sex life brought up? Do you want another hot for Grindelwald? I do want another hot for Grindelwald. I always saw Star Trek as more of a libertarian sort of thing. Okay. I like that too, but goodness, that was so forced. What was forced specifically? The gerbil's never stuck when you got a transporter. Everybody's having a good time. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know. I got 19 replies. Is someone getting pissed off at me again? Hold on. Oh dear God. Tesseract is getting into it with somebody. Why did we hide that? Oh, it's fine for them to say that, I think. Okay, here is a non-political Trek question. Lisa so wants us to move away. I can appreciate that. Lisa Garrison's cool people. Did you ever read the Known Space series by Larry Nivan? And do you think the Kzinti should have been kept in Trek canon? The Kzinti are in Trek canon, to my knowledge. I've never read Known Space, though. Is it good? The Kzinti, though, the Kzinti, I think the Kzinti are in DS9 they just mention them. It's one of those races where they mention it. It's like, oh, they're doing this X to push the plot. They never really bring them in. If you are non-reactionary, you can like Trek as much as anyone. Okay. Is TNG a Western? The original series and probably Voyager. Maybe Enterprise, arguably. Never read Ringworld or watched Ringworld either. Alright guys, we're going to be finishing it up soon. Oh, the Zinkethi are in DS9. They nearly caused a war, yeah. The Changeling did. So maybe the Kzinti? However you say it. See, Sydney, this is why I like you. Kzinti are mentioned in the Picard episode Nepenthe. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that they do it. Ringworld is Halo, but better. Ah. Fair enough. I think it starts with a K. It does start with a K. DS9 is Gunsmoke versus Star Trek Wagon Train. Okay. Are the Xindi members of the Federation in TNG? I don't think the Xindi are members of the Federation. Don't think so. That's a good question. Zindi TNG. I thought it was later than that. I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Firefly is definitively a sci-fi western. I love Firefly. It's so good. Oh my god. I mean, I don't think they should remake it because I just don't think it would ever have the same power, but it was good. The Xinti are only in TAS as far as I know. I could have swore they are actually. Maybe they're not. Yeah, and they're spelled so freaking weird. The Xinti. Kzinti. Go to the website. Please go to that page. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. TAS. Oh, it is in Picard. Yeah, Nepenthe. So they're legit now. Well, we know the Xindi do join the Federation. At least by the 28th century. We see that in Enterprise. But did they join it in the next generation? I don't think so. I think they were on the ship, so they joined it by then. I wouldn't say after then, Lisa. The Terran Federation. You mean Terran Dominion from StarCraft? Terran Dominion from StarCraft is authoritarian, a dictator, dictatorial authoritarian. Fox killed Firefly. They did it no justice. They aired it. Yeah. Well, that's not the first one they did either. There was a oh, what was it? Not Battlestar Galactica. It was a cartoon based off of bugs. You're fighting bugs, humanity versus bugs. What the hell is it called? I loved it. I watched it as a kid, and they played it out of order, which it made no sense. Movie about humans versus bugs. Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers had a cartoon that was so good. Oh my god. It was a great cartoon. The intro to it, the title, is one of the best. Songs, I think. But they played out order, and it didn't make sense in some instances. I loved Starship Troopers. It was so fun. I don't think it was Exo Squad. Starship Troopers cartoon series? Maybe it was. No, it was Roughnecks. It was So basically, it was that one. Basically, the thrust of it was that you had this guy. He joined the Roughnecks, and he was the camera guy. He was for PR and stuff, and he always told it from his point of view. The thing I didn't like the cliffhanger. I didn't like they're on the moon and stuff. They should have just ended it there. Of course, that was 90s writing. Have you ever done Firefly lore? I'd love to see a series. I've done a lot of Firefly lore, actually. YouTube. Lore loaded. I love that intro. Where's the other Firefly? No, I have a lot more Firefly stuff than that, though. So we'll do this. Lore reloaded. Firefly. It's clear no one with a southern accent could ever like Star Trek. That's true. All people with southern accents are bigots. Thanks so much for supporting the channel, Lore Runner. Of course, the Lore Runner was a part of my most recent project. And actually, you can find him at lorerunner.com. Does a much better channel and stuff than I do. Channel's based off his stuff. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, man. I love you, Lore Runner. I may actually and this is just between you and me. There's nobody watching, and it's just us talking. I may actually be in love with you. And I'm glad that I was able to tell you. Relax. I'm thinking of trading for Lore Reloaded. I'm thinking of trading for Lore Reloaded in the draft this year. I have no idea what that means. Sydney, I feel jaded. Well, but we're in a polycule, Sydney. You, me, Donovan, and Lore Runner, we're in this polycule. We're all together. I will have his children. I do actually have an OnlyFans. I haven't done anything with it because I got set back. Talk to you later, Denzel. Always good talking to you, brother. Tell me when you receive that letter. Either that or I'm going to have to rewrite it. I find it a bit ironic the Dominion uses more Soviet doctrine while the Federation uses more German doctrine. Maybe. I always looked at the Dominion as German and the Federation as the U.S. I don't know. Did you ever see the interview Roddenberry did talking about growing up in the Old South with woke parents? No. I'm not sure that I would believe him. I'd have to watch it. I'm not the biggest advocate of our boy, if I'm being honest. As a fan from the South, I take great offense to your last comment about our accents. I'm sorry, but that's rather bigoted of you, says Brian Lane. Brian, I have lived in Tennessee almost all of my life. I was born in the great state of Indiana, and less than 2 months old, moved to Tennessee and have lived here ever since. I can talk about my people that way, okay? Is that okay? Can I get your permission to talk about my people that way? Is that all right? Or are you going to culture shame me? Is that what this is? So I don't know. What do you even mean, you people, Brian? What does that even mean? All right. So maybe if you let me talk about my culture the way I want to talk about my culture, and you don't say you people, maybe we'd be okay. Maybe. Yeah, for all intents, I mean, I was born in Indiana, technically. For all intents and purposes, I've always lived in Tennessee. It's the only home I've ever really known. Home. I could move out of Tennessee and be just fine. But a lot of Texans. But yeah, I mean, I've always considered Tennessee like my home state. You were born in Tennessee, so the Yankee is in your blood. You know what I love? Yankee is a slur. Especially Yanks. I like to point that out. I knew you wouldn't. I wouldn't. Well, I'm never going to disappoint, mental philanthropist. Never. DFW here. What is that? The demilitarized free will area? What's the DFW? Oregon's beautiful. Tennessee, I thought you were Canadian. I am not Canadian. No, I live in a country that actually has freedom of speech. Fellow person born in Indiana, but wasn't raised. Mr. Reloaded, there aren't Nerf or Soof. He's a Pinko. I am a Pinko, that is true. There's a lot of Texans here. I didn't realize how many people in Texas. Dude, oh man, I'm not going to talk about it because we want to move away from that. All right, I think we're going to end it here. Lore Runner, always a pleasure. Glad you guys could come. Thanks everybody so much for coming. It's really been fun. I'm trying to do this more and more. I'm glad we were all able to be here. I really feel like something was gained today. And I love you. I love you all. Unless you're in the EU. Because no one loves people who live in the EU. Especially the UK.